Have you ever noticed someone who seems endlessly talented, full of potential, yet somehow can't commit to a single path? Picture this: a mind buzzing with ideas, a heart pulled in multiple directions, eyes that see potential everywhere. They research psychology one week, graphic design the next, then suddenly they're deep into learning coding or considering culinary school. Friends call them indecisive. Family members grow frustrated. Society labels them lost, unmotivated, afraid of commitment. But here's the truth that psychology reveals: their inability to choose isn't laziness or fear. It's something far more complex, and understanding it changes everything. Do you recognize this in yourself, or maybe in someone close to you? If you love understanding why people think and behave the way they do, hit subscribe now. Today, let's break down the psychology behind why some people can't choose a career. Here's what most people miss. When someone can't choose a career path, we're not looking at a simple decision problem. We're witnessing a complex interplay of cognitive patterns, emotional systems, and neurological wiring. Psychology calls this analysis paralysis, but that term barely scratches the surface of what's actually happening in their minds. Let's start with the architecture of their thinking. These people possess what psychologists call high openness to experience, one of the 5 major personality traits that shape human behavior. But here's where it gets fascinating. Their brains don't just notice more options. They genuinely see more possibilities than the average person. It's like their mind operates with a wider lens, capturing details and connections that others naturally filter out. While someone with lower openness might see 3 viable career paths, these individuals see 15, and every single one feels real, achievable, important. Neuroscience shows us something remarkable here. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and future planning, becomes hyperactive in people with multiple passions. Brain imaging studies reveal that when these individuals think about their future, more neural pathways light up. They're not overthinking by choice. Their brains are literally processing more information, making more connections, seeing more implications with every potential decision. It's like trying to choose a direction when you can see 1,000 paths instead of 3. And here's the crucial part: they can vividly imagine succeeding in all of them. But there's something deeper happening beneath the surface. Most people assume indecision stems from not knowing what you want. The painful reality for these individuals is the opposite. They know exactly what they want. The problem is they want everything. Their desires aren't vague or unclear. They're sharp, specific, and brutally multiple. They genuinely love writing and medicine and teaching and entrepreneurship. Each passion feels authentic because it is authentic. Their problem isn't a lack of direction. It's an abundance of direction, and no map for navigating that abundance. Psychology reveals something critical here. These people often have what's called a multi-potentialite mind. The term was coined by career coach Emily Wapnick, but the concept has roots in psychological research on giftedness and cognitive diversity. Multi-potentialites don't have one true calling. Their brains are wired for variety, integration, and cross-pollination of ideas. While society built a career system for specialists, people with one deep well of interest, these individuals are naturals at connecting different fields. But here's what makes their experience so painful. We live in a world designed for specialists. From childhood, the message is clear: pick one thing, go deep, become an expert. Universities demand you choose a major. Job applications ask for your area of expertise. Success stories celebrate those who knew their path early and never wavered. For someone whose mind naturally resists singular focus, this creates a profound existential crisis. They're not failing at the game. They're playing a different game entirely. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Research in decision psychology shows that having more options doesn't increase happiness or satisfaction. It actually decreases it. This is called the paradox of choice, discovered by psychologist Barry Schwartz. When you have 3 career options, choosing feels manageable. When you have 20 that all seem viable, every choice becomes a mourning process. Choosing to become a therapist means not becoming a novelist. Choosing medical school means closing the door on architecture. For these individuals, every decision feels like a small death of other possible selves. They're not avoiding commitment. They're grieving the futures they have to surrender. Their nervous system plays a crucial role here too. Many people who can't choose careers have what psychologists call a highly sensitive nervous system. They process stimuli more deeply, feel emotions more intensely, and experience the weight of decisions more profoundly. When they imagine choosing the wrong path, it's not a mild concern. Their body responds with genuine anxiety. Cortisol floods their system, their heart rate increases, the stakes feel enormous because to their nervous system, they are enormous. They're not being dramatic. Their biological response is proportionate to how their brain perceives the magnitude of the choice. Here's the part that changes everything. What looks like procrastination from the outside is often extensive research on the inside. These people aren't avoiding decisions. They're gathering information, testing possibilities, trying to make the most informed choice possible. They take online courses, read countless articles, talk to people in different fields, imagine various scenarios. They're doing due diligence that would make any rational decision maker proud. But because the exploration phase stretches longer than society deems acceptable, it gets labeled as inability to commit rather than what it actually is: thoroughness in the face of complexity. Psychology also reveals another hidden factor: perfectionism, but not the kind most people imagine. These individuals often have what's called maladaptive perfectionism, where the fear of making a suboptimal choice outweighs the benefits of making any choice at all. Their internal dialogue sounds like this: if I'm going to invest years of my life in something, it needs to be exactly right. What if I choose and then discover my real passion a year later? What if I'm better suited for something I haven't discovered yet? This isn't immaturity, it's a cognitive style that weighs long-term implications heavily, sometimes too heavily. But there's something most people never realize about these individuals. Their struggle often masks an unusual gift. While others might choose quickly and discover limitations later, multi-potentialites often become exceptional at integration. When they finally do choose or create a unique path, they bring perspectives from multiple domains. The person who considered both engineering and art might revolutionize product design. Someone torn between psychology and business might transform organizational culture. Their wide-ranging interests aren't a liability. They're a preparation for work that doesn't exist yet, work that requires exactly that breadth of vision. Let's talk about what's happening emotionally beneath all this analysis. These people often carry profound shame. They watch peers establish careers, buy homes, gain expertise while they remain in what feels like perpetual adolescence. Family gatherings become painful. The question, what do you do, feels like an indictment. They internalize messages that something is wrong with them. They're too picky, too afraid, too scattered. But here's what psychology shows: their extended exploration period isn't developmental delay. It's a different developmental trajectory entirely, one that doesn't fit neatly into conventional timelines. Research on career development reveals something crucial. The old model was linear: choose, train, execute, retire. But the modern career landscape increasingly rewards adaptability, diverse skill sets, and the ability to pivot. Ironically, the very traits that make these individuals struggle with traditional career choice, intellectual curiosity, comfort with exploration, ability to learn across domains, are becoming more valuable in a rapidly changing economy. They're not behind, they might be early to a model the rest of the world is slowly adopting. There's also a hidden biological component many people miss. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and reward, operates differently in people with high openness and novelty-seeking behaviors. Their brains release dopamine in response to new possibilities, exploration, and learning. Settling into one path too early can feel neurologically unrewarding. It's not that they lack discipline. Their brain chemistry is literally wired to seek variety and integration. Asking them to ignore that wiring is like asking someone to stop feeling hungry. You can override it temporarily, but the biological drive persists. Here's what's fascinating about the internal experience. For people who choose careers easily, there's usually a clear signal. One option feels right, lights up internally, creates a sense of yes. For multi-potentialites, multiple options create that signal simultaneously. They're not lacking the intuitive sense others describe. They have too much of it, pointing in different directions. It's like having multiple internal compasses, each accurately pointing toward a genuine north, but toward different norths. Trusting your gut becomes meaningless when your gut says yes to everything. Now let's address something critical. This pattern has a healthy version and an unhealthy version, and the difference matters. The healthy version involves genuine exploration, building skills across domains, and gradually narrowing based on lived experience rather than fear. The unhealthy version involves paralysis that prevents any forward movement, chronic anxiety that blocks experimentation, or using exploration as avoidance of deeper fears about competence or success. The key difference? Forward motion. Healthy multipotentialites are always learning, building, testing. Unhealthy paralysis involves circling the same decision without gathering new information or taking action. Here's something that deepens the picture. Many people who can't choose careers are also carrying unspoken fears that complicate the decision. Fear of visibility, fear of being judged if they choose something unconventional, fear of disappointing parents who imagined a different path, fear of financial instability, fear of commitment itself, not to the work, but to a defined identity. When someone says, I can't choose between medicine and art, sometimes the real sentence is, I'm terrified of publicly claiming either identity and being held to it. The career confusion becomes a shield against a deeper vulnerability about being seen. Research in identity development shows that career choice is never just about work. It's about answering the question, who am I? For people with multifaceted interests and abilities, that question has no simple answer. They're not one thing, they're a constellation of capacities and curiosities. Forcing themselves into a single career category can feel like violence against their true nature. It's not that they won't choose, it's that the available choices feel like clothes that don't fit, made for bodies shaped differently than theirs. There's also a generational and cultural component worth understanding. Previous generations had fewer visible options. You became what your town offered: teacher, doctor, farmer, shopkeeper. Limited options, simplified choice. Now, these individuals grow up with the internet showing them 1,000 ways to live, work, create. They see digital nomads and portfolio careers and people monetizing unusual combinations of skills. The explosion of visible possibilities creates unprecedented freedom and unprecedented paralysis. They're not more confused than previous generations, they're navigating exponentially more complexity. Here's what most people never consider. The question, what career should I choose, might be the wrong question for these individuals entirely. It's built on assumptions about how careers work that no longer hold. Increasingly, successful people aren't choosing one career. They're building unique combinations of income streams, skill sets, and interests. The person who can't choose between writing and coaching might need to do both. The one torn between tech and social work might need to create technology for social impact. Their inability to choose might be their intuition telling them, don't choose, integrate. Psychology offers another insight here: the role of early messaging. Many multipotentialites grew up as gifted children, praised for being good at everything. They internalized the belief that they should be able to do anything, which paradoxically makes choosing feel like failure. Every path not chosen becomes evidence of wasted potential. They're not just choosing a career, they're choosing which parts of their potential to develop and which to abandon. And for someone raised to believe they should maximize all of it, that feels impossible. Let's talk about what actually helps. External pressure to just choose never works. It increases anxiety and shame without addressing the underlying complexity. What does help? Time-boxed experimentation. Give yourself permission to try something for 6 months, not forever. Building a career that combines elements rather than choosing between them. Working with someone who understands multipotentiality rather than treating it as a problem to fix. Recognizing that you're not broken. The system wasn't built for minds like yours. Here's something that brings it all together. The ancient Greeks had 2 words for time: chronos and kairos. Chronos is clock time, the linear progression society measures. Kairos is the right time, the opportune moment. People who struggle with career choice are often operating on kairos, while the world demands chronos. They're waiting for the convergence of readiness, opportunity, and internal alignment. Others might think they're wasting time, but internally they're allowing something to develop that can't be rushed. Sometimes the refusal to choose prematurely isn't weakness. It's wisdom the conscious mind hasn't articulated yet. There's one more layer that matters deeply. For some of these individuals, the career question is actually a life question in disguise. They're not just asking what work to do. They're asking, how should I spend my limited time on Earth? What contribution matters? What version of myself do I want to become? These are philosophical questions dressed up as career questions, and they deserve philosophical depth, not productivity hacks. When someone says they can't choose a career, sometimes they're really saying, I can't reduce the meaning of my life to a job category. Research shows something encouraging. People who take longer to choose careers often end up with higher satisfaction long term, particularly if they use the exploration time actively rather than anxiously. They've tested more options, know themselves better, and make more informed choices. The person who chooses quickly might seem ahead at 25, but discovers misalignment at 35. The person who explores thoroughly might seem behind but finds genuine fit. There's no universal timeline for readiness. The comparison itself is the problem, not the pace. So the next time you see someone who seems unable to choose a career path, remember they're not lost, unmotivated, or afraid of adulthood. Their mind is processing layers of complexity that others might not see. They're feeling the weight of multiple authentic callings simultaneously. They're navigating a world built for specialists with a brain designed for integration. They're not broken instruments playing the wrong notes. They're complex instruments that can't be reduced to single melodies. And maybe, just maybe, the world needs people who refuse to simplify themselves, who insist that their wholeness matters more than their marketability, who would rather wait for the right integration than settle for a partial expression of who they are. If this resonated with you, whether you're living this experience or trying to understand someone who is, there's so much more to explore about how different minds navigate the same world in completely different ways. The next video reveals another hidden pattern in human psychology that most people never recognize. Click it now, because understanding how minds work differently changes how we see everyone, including ourselves.